Hey guys, Satish here. Today let's talk about 555 timers. This along with the comparator, that is LM324, which we studied in the last chapter. Using these two ICs, you can basically build most of the small embedded system applications. Today let's see how a 555 timer works and how we can use it. 555 timers have two modes of operation. One is an astable mode and a monostable mode. In astable mode, the output is not stable in both of the states. What that means is output will be continuously toggling between low and high. It works like a oscillator. It will keep continuously generating a square wave. In monostable, what happens is the output initially will be low. Then once you give a trigger, it will turn on and continue to be on for a certain duration of time, and then it will turn off. And again, you have to re-trigger for this operation to happen. Now let's see how a 555 timer works in an astable operation. As I mentioned earlier, in this state what happens is the output is not stable in one state. It keeps oscillating between high and low. So initially it will be low, then turn high for a certain duration of a time, then turn low, and then again stay at low for a certain duration of time, and this continues. So now there are two timing here. One is the T on and another is the T off. So what 555 timer will use is an RC network to provide this time delay. So let me draw this. So let's assume this is VCC and I have one resistor here and I have another resistor here. So I'll tell you why I'm using two resistors. So and we have a capacitor here. This is connected to ground. So now let's assume this is RA and this is RB. Now let's see what happens to the waveform or the capacitor voltage. This is the capacitor voltage across the capacitor. As soon as you turn on, it will start charging. It is slowly charged to VCC. So and the charging path is RA and RB. So this time where the capacitor gets charged slowly will be used to provide this delay, and the delay for T off will be generated by the discharge time. So the T on is the charge time and the T off is the discharge time. I'll explain you the discharge time. So let's quickly open up the 555 data sheet and see what pins it has and what are the and how they are used. Okay, let me open this. So it's an 8-pin IC. So here the threshold and the trigger are used as voltage sensing pins, and discharge pin is used to discharge the capacitor, and the output pin will give the output. So now let's see how using these pins you can generate a continuous square wave. So let's get back to our drawing. So let me note down, there is a trigger pin. So trigger, think this voltage as 1/3 VCC is 2/3 VCC. So for calculation sake, let's assume the voltage is 9 volts here. So the trigger point is at 1/3 VCC, that is 3 volt, and the threshold point is at 2/3 VCC, that is 6 volts. So now then the other pin is the discharge pin. The discharge pin, let us connect it here. As I told you, this there is an internal transistor which will turn on to discharge the capacitor. So that pin number is 7, and in an astable operation this capacitor voltage is given to both trigger and threshold. The trigger is pin number 2 and threshold is pin number 6. It is connected to 2 and 6. So basically what happens is, once the capacitor starts charging, as soon as this threshold voltage increases above 6 volts, this transistor will turn on. So let's see what happens. So now, let me put this to 9 volt. This is at 6 volt and this is at 3 volts. So now initially it has charged, it is at 0, initially it is at 0 volts and it has slowly started to charge. So based on the RC combination, the time will be decided. And here what happens is the output will be low initially. So it will start charge. So initially this discharge pin is open. So it will charge in RA, RB and C, this path, and it will slowly start charging. So as soon as it exceeds 2/3 VCC, that is at this point. My drawing is not straight. Okay, let's assume this is at this point. Let me put a dotted line. Okay, once it exceeds this point, what happens is this transistor will turn off. So as soon as this transistor turns off, what happens is the capacitor starts discharging in through RB. So this voltage starts falling. So as soon as it reaches this threshold point, what happens here is this is the output. Output is pin number 3. This output will become high and the capacitor starts discharging. So when this capacitor starts discharging and this voltage at the trigger pin becomes less than 1/3 VCC, that is 3 volts, becomes less than 3 volts, this transistor will open. So it will stop discharging in this path. So again, I will again start charging in RA, RB path. So this continues to happen. So this is how you are going to generate a continuous square wave. So it will keep oscillating like this. Okay, now let's check out what are the formulas associated with this. See here the voltage across the capacitor increases exponentially for a period of 1.1 RAC. So I have written a straight line in my diagram, but it is not a straight line, it will take this kind of a shape. The T on, the timing is, the charging time is 0.693 RC and the discharge time is 0.693 RC, where charging is in our case also is RA plus RB and discharge is RB. Okay, so now, so T on is 0.693 RA plus RB into C and T off is 0.693 RB into C. So it will charge in this path and it will discharge in this path. So by selecting proper values of RA and RB, you can select what is the frequency and the duty cycle. With this arrangement, there is a small issue. So what happens is, you can never get a duty cycle below 50% because the charge time depends on both these resistors. So if you want to have an independent resistor for charge and discharge time, what you can do here is you can use a diode here. If you use a diode here, so now what happens, the charging path happens RA, will go through this diode because this is forward biased and it charges like this. Only thing is you have to select the RB which is higher than the diode resistance, very much higher than the diode resistance, or else it will start sharing a path. Let's assume that these diode resistance are not generally very high, it will be in ohms. So you can use RB in kilo ohms. So then what happens is the charge path will only become this, RB will not come into picture. So we can remove RB out of this picture and the discharge path is this path. So and during discharge path, this will also, there will be some current like flow in this direction also. Now let's quickly simulate this in Proteus and see how this works. Let me put a 555 IC component from library 555. And then let me put ground, place terminal ground. There are few more pins which we have to connect. We have not discussed about it. Let's do it now, checking the data sheet. So let me put a power 9 or 12 volts power source, 9 volts. Let's put a 9 volts power source. DC 9 volts. We'll put a scope and check the waveforms. We'll connect this here, this here. Let's put an R also. And a capacitor. I'll use in 1000 Ks, so that I get somewhere around 1 second or something like that. And you can use the formula 0.693 RC. And then this is to VCC, this is to ground, and as I told you, this capacitor voltage we will be giving to both threshold and trigger. And this path I'll use to discharge it. And let me connect an LED for output. Okay, there are a couple more pins which, okay, let me put an animated LED here. There are a couple more pins which we have not talked about. That is pin number 4. Negative applied to this pin enable will disable or reset the timer. So we have to connect it to VCC. Then there is CV. So generally for this we will connect a 0.1 microfarad capacitor. Let me connect a capacitor. So now let's start the simulation and see what happens. Okay, output LED is turning on, it's turning off. Okay. So let me put a voltage probe here. And this one we have set it to 9 volts. So it should be charging up to 6 volts and discharging up to 3 volts. Now let's see what happens. Now you can see it is slowly discharging to 3. It turned on. At 6 volts it should turn off. Hope you are able to see this. Let's put a scope and check out the waveforms also. I'll reduce the time because seeing low frequency thing on a scope is a bit of a pain. So I can either reduce the resistance or the capacity. So I am reducing the capacity. Again, the formula is 0.693 RC, or if you take the frequency, it is 1.4. This formula is there. Okay, now let's put the oscilloscope, virtual instrument, oscilloscope. So we will compare the capacitor voltage with the output voltage. Let me run the simulation. Okay, the timing is still a lot to fit into the screen. Let me reduce it a bit more. So again, for scope, put all of them to DC. A tutorial on the scope is coming up. So just there's some issue. What is the issue? Okay, okay. This is not the ground. I have to. Not where it should be connected. That was affecting our charging and discharging time. So let's see now. Okay, it reduces the time. I don't have, and I did not have to go this low. Yeah, I can show you at that also. Okay, now you can see the capacitor charging and discharging. Let me set the trigger level also for this. So I'll set it to channel 2 so I can hold the waveform properly. I think by the time you see this video, the tutorial on how to use oscilloscope will be out. So then you will understand what all I am doing here. Okay, now you see charging, while during charging the output is high, during discharging my output is low. Even though I have used the same value of, that is around 10K for R1 and R2, the charging time is double than the discharge time because this and this is getting added up during charging. Let me put a diode. Yeah, now we have 50% duty cycle. So the charge time also has only 1000K and discharge time also has only 1000K. Let's assume that you have an application where you want the same frequency but different duty cycles. Then there is some. Then you can use a pot to do that. Let me show you how you can do that. Delete this. The charge path is whatever this resistance from the variable point to the top point, and capacitor discharges variable point to bottom point and this. So let me start this. Okay, I'd use a set up the probe for 100K, 1000, somewhere around this value. So now let me change this. Okay, now if you see if I vary the pot, only the duty cycle will change, the frequency will not change. So if you have an application where you only want to change the duty cycle and not the frequency, you can use this kind of an arrangement. So that's it with the astable multi-vibrator. Now let's look at monostable. So now let's see how a 555 timer can be set up to work in a monostable operation. In a monostable operation, what happens is the output is not oscillating continuously like how it was in a astable. Here the output will be low. Then once you provide a trigger, it becomes high and continue to be high based on your RC time, and then it will turn off and it will continue to be off until a next trigger is received. Once it receives the next trigger, it will go high again, stay high for certain duration and turn off. So this is how it will work in a monostable operation. So now let's see how to set it up. So if you have understood a astable operation, this should be fairly easy. So let me quickly draw it. So this is our VCC. So we had given it to 9 volts. Then we have a resistor. Here you will not need a discharge resistor. So and this will be connected to ground. And this point we will give it to the discharge pin, that is pin number 7. So it will charge slowly through a RC network and immediately discharge into the discharge pin. So this is R and this is C. So here what happens, the trigger pin, the pin number 2 will be an external input. So it should be maintained high. So let us try to understand with a waveform. So start with the pin number 2 voltage. So this should be maintained at high. So and this will be your output. Output will be low initially. After all the initial transitions, it will the voltage across the capacitor will build up to 6 volts. It will then discharge into pin number 7, then come back and settle at 0 volts. So let me put this is VC. So initially this is also at 0 volts. So now if I make this trigger voltage low, what happens here is the discharge pin which was shorted before this will open. So it will slowly start charging the capacitor and the time is 0.693 RC. That is a T on time. So what will happen, it will start slowly charging. So this is the trigger point. As soon as you give trigger, the capacitor will start charging to 6 volts. So when during charging, the output will go high. After, you can give a very small trigger and remove it. So once the capacitor gets charged to 2/3 VC, that is over 6 volts, this transistor will turn on. So this capacitor will immediately discharge and output also will go down. So this will continue to be low until you give your next trigger. So once you give your next trigger, the same thing will repeat itself. And the capacitor starts charging and then it becomes low. And here, so during this process, if you repeatedly re-trigger anything, nothing will happen. The repeated re-triggering will not happen. So once you give a trigger, so only after the output becomes low and the capacitor discharges, you will be able to re-trigger it. So until in this duration, re-trigger will not work. This will not work. So now let's quickly simulate this on Proteus and see how it works. Let me take a 555 timer. Then we have to place VCC. We need some resistors also. 12 volts DC. We place ground. And we need capacitor. And we need a LED. Which is a red LED. Then to provide the trigger, we will need a switch. So there is a, so I have, let me do this. So before that, let me tell you of generally how we use a switch in a circuit. Let me get back to the slide. Yeah. So let's assume that you have to give a this kind of a pulse or one low pulse. So if you want to give this, that is what we are going to use in this application. So initially it should be to our VCC, then it will go to ground and come back. So generally what we do here is we use a pull-up resistor, then we will use a switch and ground it. So this we will connect it to VCC. So now this point, if the switch is open, will be VCC. So when you close the switch, it will become ground. So this is how we generally connect a switch. So if you want this kind of a waveform, what you can do here is you can put the switch to the top and use a pull down resistor. So this is generally called as a pull up resistor, and this is we call it as a pull down resistor. You can ground it. So if this is the output, then without the switch being on, this will be 0. So when you connect the switch, this will become, when you press the switch, it will become high or go to VCC, and when you release it, it will come back to 0. So you will get this kind of a waveform. So since we are going to use this, let's use this kind of circuit to provide the trigger. So I will need a pull-up resistor and a switch. I have a switch. Let me use a push button. So we have to put a capacitor for pin number 5. This one I'll put it to, say, a reset should be high, and this switch we will pull it up. This we will connect to discharge. And this will be our output. And threshold is I connect the trigger to the switch and let's start the simulation. Let's put a voltage probe in this RC. You can see the capacitor slowly charging. Okay. I have not set the voltage, that is why it was not working. Let me, you can see this, it is slow, it started to charge, and once it hits 2/3 VCC at 9 volts in this case, it should start discharging immediately and this LED will turn off. See, it turned off and it has discharged. So it is charging again. So this repeated re-trigger will not work. Nothing happens. So until it becomes low again, this trigger has no effect. So this is a monostable operation. Okay, you guys could have seen that I am making so many mistakes because I am not preparing in before the class, so that I make these kinds of mistakes and you will be able to see how I solve them. Hope you guys were able to follow the 555 IC.